back, boys and girls, to our daily lesson number 2. Alright, so let's just pick up where we left off. Go ahead and take this paper out from yesterday. If you do not have it out, I will give you some time. You can click pause. When you are ready with your materials, you can come back and play the video. Alright, so you should have filled out your brainstorming box right here with a few ideas. You don't have to fill it up, but you also don't have to be limited to this amount of ideas. Some of you might have written some more, that's okay. But what you should have done was narrow it down to 2 or 3, okay? And so that's what I did. So I narrowed it down to buy a car one day, paying bills, and education. So now, I did upload this paper onto the files in the general section of our class team. So this is where this part comes in, okay? So if you're struggling through these ideas, you're like, well, I'm really interested in this one, but I'm also really interested in this other one. So this is how you can narrow it down. Test it out. Ask yourself these questions. If you can say yes to every single one of these questions, then you know you're on the right track. So maybe you remember when we did this exercise in class where I had you stand up and I asked you the question. If you said yes, I moved on to the next person and I skipped around. So if you can remember that, if not, we're going to test it out, okay? So you're going to ask yourself the first question. So let's read it together. Number 1, is the topic something I have strong feelings about? Well, let me see. Strong feelings about? Yes. Okay. Number 2, is the topic something I know a lot about? Yes. Okay. Number 3, can I describe this topic in great detail? Maybe for this one, definitely this one, definitely this one. Would my audience be interested in this topic? And so when we're talking about audience, those are the people that are going to read your essay. Now, since we're doing distance learning, that could be somebody at home. If you take a picture of it and send it to me, that'll be me or a classmate. You can share with somebody. Maybe you have someone's number and you want them to read it. So you can definitely do that. And number 5, would my audience feel that reading about this topic is worthwhile? So you don't want to write something that you don't really feel strongly about. Maybe you're like, well, I kind of like the topic, but I don't like it that much. So then that might be the one that you eliminate, okay? Number 2, is the topic something I know a lot about? Well, maybe you are really interested in the topic, but maybe you don't know so much about it where you could write a whole essay. So that might not be the one for you either. So you want to choose the one that you know a lot about, that you can talk about it in detail, that it's interesting, that it's something you know a lot about, and something that you feel really strongly about, okay? So for me, I decided to choose paying my bills because I feel very strongly about that. But your topics are probably a lot more fun than mine, okay? So now that I've tested my topic, I have selected my topic, now I'm moving on to this side of the paper. We have done this before. If you don't remember, that's fine. We're going to go through it again. So going back to our lesson from yesterday when we were shaping the prompt, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my paper so you can see it. Remember this? So I'm going to leave this out because I'm going to need it right now, okay? So I'm going to take my highlighter, and for the go word, let's go ahead and I'm going to highlight the triangle just so that I know what I'm working on. So what was our go word from yesterday? Can you remember? Look at your paper. What was the go word? It was right. So go ahead and write that in the box right now. All right. So let's look for our charge word. Go ahead and look at the prompt. What was the charge word? It was why. I'm also going to put a box around this because although this shape is pretty, I just want us to remember that charge words are boxed. Okay? Now, last but not least, the topic. And the topic word is going to go up here. And so what is the topic that we're writing about? Saving money is important. Okay? And I'm going to put my circle around that. On this bottom triangle, I want you to think about this as your central idea statement. And if you remember what central idea statement is, it is the one sentence that's in your introduction that tells what the writing will be about, okay? So I did a few drafts of my central idea statement, so I certainly don't expect you to get it on the first try because it takes practice. It takes time to develop it. But I'm going to show you how I did mine. And before we even start with the central idea statement, there's one sentence that we're supposed to do first. It's the first sentence of the paragraph at the very, very beginning. Do you know what it is? It is the hook. And there are lots of different ways to do a hook, if you remember. There is dialogue, there is a fun fact, you can ask a question, you can do a strong statement, you can do onomatopoeia, and that's what I'm choosing for today. So I'm going to go ahead and write mine out. Finish with my intro. I know it's a central idea statement. It's at the bottom, but if you notice, there is a triangle and it wants us to start big, get smaller and smaller, and lead us into the central idea at the bottom. That's what this is, okay? It's kind of like the funnel on our introductions. Remember this? It's also uploaded to our files. We'll talk about that probably tomorrow. All right, so this is what I wrote. Flake is the sound the light switch makes every morning when I walk into the restroom. Something as simple as this would not be possible without electricity. In order for me to have electricity, I have to save money. This is why saving money for paying bills is very important to me. Did you see what I did? I started off with an example, something big, and then I got more specific, and then I finally said, this is why, I'm going to highlight it. This is why saving money for paying bills is very important to me, because that is my topic. That's what I'm going to talk about. So I want to ask you, does this sentence tell what the writing will be about? Yeah. The writing is going to be about paying bills, saving money for paying bills. And that's what you want your central idea to do, okay? So for today, what I want you guys to work on, I want you to work on your central idea statement at the very least. And then after that, I want you to try to work on your introduction, okay? So if you want to just start with the central idea, that's fine with me. And then you want to add the introduction. For me, my easiest practice is to start with the hook. And then my ideas just start flowing. Now, I will say that I wrote it on my journal first, and I started making corrections as I was writing it, okay? So you might want to draft it out a little bit before you get to here, but I do want you to get this done today, and that's what we're going to work on, all right? So get your central idea, start with the intro, and then we can go from there.